Think of classical ballet, and a ballerina dancing in pointe shoes comes to mind. These specialized shoes were originally designed to allow dancers to appear weightless, with an ethereal quality in Romantic-era supernatural, otherworldly roles as sylphs, willys, nymphs, and fairies that permeate Giselle, Swan Lake, and La Sylphide. Since Marie Taglioni popularized dancing on pointe shoes in the 1830s, the shoes have evolved to allow dancers to perform steps on the tips of their toes for extended periods. Technique in shoes advanced, allowing dancers to do much more than portray mythical creatures in a forest, expanding opportunities for innovations and athleticism in choreography. Pointe shoes are a vital tool of the trade for a dancer. Choosing the right pointe shoe is crucial for a ballerina, as it can significantly impact performance and overall foot health. Pointe shoes are not one-size-fits-all, and dancers search for the specific brand, style, and size of shoe that suits their foot shape and strength. Moreover, professional dancers go through a process of breaking in their shoes, softening and molding them to their feet through special treatments to adjust the fit and comfort. Shoe search and preparation is an all-encompassing, time-consuming process. I do not know of another art form, sport, or activity in which the participant spends as much time and effort on their equipment in pursuit of the perfect instrument. This video series gives an overview of pointe shoes from the perspective of an elite professional dancer. This video provides commentary from American Ballet Theater's Christine Shevchenko on topics ranging from brands, sizing, usage, preparation, and pain management. Christine trained at the Rock School in Philadelphia. After distinguishing herself in numerous ballet competitions, she joined the ABT Studio Company in 2006, joined the company as a core member in 2008, promoted to soloist in 2014, and principal dancer in 2017, excelling in ABT's full-length repertory. First, the basics of pointe shoes. This video covers traditional pointe shoes whose basic construction and composition have not changed much over the past 100 years. Traditional shoes are made from various combinations of fabric, paper, cardboard, leather, dried glue, all with a covering of satin. The shoes are lightweight. This freed shoe with ribbons is about 130 grams or 4.6 ounces. Key components are the box, which is a rigid, square-shaped front section of the shoe that encases and supports the dancer's toes when on pointe. The shank is the part of the shoe that runs along the underside of the foot, supporting the arch. The vamp is the upper part of the shoe that covers the top of the dancer's foot, extending from the box to the opening of the shoe. The drawstring, ribbons, and elastics secure the shoes to the dancer's feet. I cut open a freed shoe to provide a cross-section. The shank is made from a hard material, possibly compressed cardboard or a leather material. The box that encases the dancer's foot appears to be made of a paper or burlap-type material hardened by glue. Because of the vital nature of pointe work, choosing the right pointe shoe is a crucial decision for a ballerina, as it can significantly impact performance and overall foot health. There are about 80 brands of pointe shoes, although the top 5 to 8 brands have a dominant market share. Given the numerous choices, it is not uncommon for dancers to switch brands over time, sometimes influenced by colleagues as they try to find the perfect shoe. ABT principal dancer Christine Shevchenko started out wearing freeds as a student at the Rock School in Philadelphia and then switched to Grishko. Concerned with uneven shoe quality in her early days at ABT, she tried block shoes based on a recommendation of principal dancer Isabella Boylston.
And a lot of the dancers in the company were wearing block shoes. So I had the same size shoe as Isabella Boylston at the time, and she was wearing European bounds. So I asked her if I could try a pair of her shoes on, and I did. And I loved them because as soon as I put them on my feet and I stood on pointe, they felt very stable and super comfortable to balance in and to dance in and to turn in. And they were very flexible. So like the roll through was really nice and smooth, and they really hugged the curve of your arch. And they gave you a really nice line to the foot. So I immediately switched.
Block is an Australian company founded in 1932 by Jacob Block. Block is a popular brand at ABT, with 5 out of 8 principal dancers wearing the brand at the time of this video. Christine, Isabella, Misty Copeland, Hiso, and Devin Tusher. Skylar Brandt wears Capizio, Catherine Herlin-Freed, while Jillian Murphy wears Gaynor Minden. Professional dancers wear custom shoes, working with the shoemaker on size and hardness adjustments to various parts of the shoe. Christine wears Block European Balance, which retails for $118. However, Christine's shoes are different from what you could buy off the shelf due to her many requested changes over time, an iterative process between the dancer and shoe company.
At this point, I've gone through about 20 trials. So they're completely custom. So the European bound shoe is completely kind of redone and adjusted to my measurements, my needs. So you can't really buy this in the store, but I have gone through 20 trials just to get to where I am today with this block shoe. Block has been so wonderful, and they've kind of helped me customize the shoe that I have now with like cutting. So I would cut down the sides a bit because sometimes like the side of the shoe can be too high. So see how this is cut down here. So I cut that down. I lift the heel up higher so it doesn't slip off when you go on demi pointe, because a lot of pointe shoes actually slip off the heel if the heel is too low. So my heel is a bit higher. The vamp of my shoe is longer than the normal shoe. It was probably like down to here when I first got them, so I made them raise it up higher, and it kind of elongates the toe of the pointe shoe, and it's a nicer line. Before it was kind of like a perfect U shape. I made them kind of make it into a little V for that line. And then eventually, in the past couple of years, I made them harden the shank. So there's like a double shank in there now because your feet get stronger from all the years of dancing, and I needed a stronger shoe. So there's a double shank in there now. So they're much harder. And it's really easy to work with these brands to customize them. So for instance, if I like a shoe and it dies right away for me, they can make it harder. And they can kind of make the shank much harder so that you can actually dance on it and it doesn't die. It's so hard to find the perfect shoe. That's why it's great that they can customize them as a professional, because I probably went through a bunch of shoes as a student.
The pursuit of the perfect shoe and fit is a never-ending process because a dancer's feet change over time.
And also the muscles on your feet, you start to get more muscles on your feet. Your feet get stronger. The size of your foot changes. Your foot actually gets wider and wider and wider over time because of all the landings from jumping. Has a big impact, and it makes your feet get wider. You get more bunions. You're like literally every 2 years your feet change.
The dancer's job is not done when customized shoes arrive. The next step is breaking in the shoes by applying various hacks. There are many types of shoe hacks, and each dancer has specific procedures to maximize fit, comfort, and performance.
When I get ready to break in a brand new pair of pointe shoes, I always make sure to darn the tip, which I know a lot of dancers do this. And I do this not because I can't dance on the shoe without a darn tip, but one, it makes them last longer. And then two, sometimes the tip of the shoe isn't exactly flat. And they're all made by hand. So every pair of shoes is different. It's impossible for each pair of shoes to be perfect. And so the darning helps even out the tip. So then when you stand on pointe, it's not wobbly, but it's flat to the ground, which is easier to dance on. Then because I have a very long vamp, I usually cut down the middle and then stitch it loosely, so that when I go on demi pointe, it gives me more space, in the width, and it just makes it a little more supple through the demi pointe, and also helps for blisters because it also gives a bit more width in the shoe for the foot.
Many dancers cut the part of the shank that runs from the arch of the foot to the heel, a process known as three-quartering. Reasons for this modification vary from increasing the amount of support, making the shoes last longer, and creating a more pleasing line of the foot.
So my shank, all I do is I kind of break it off from here. And then you can see that I already kind of cut. So I quarter it. So I kind of three-quarter it. So this piece right here, I kind of rip off. And then it's just this. So then you just get like this much of the shank left.
Breaking in shoes requires a great time commitment. Christine's process takes 30 minutes. As we will get to later, a dancer can go through up to 200 pairs of shoes a year. If Christine uses 150 pairs of shoes in a year, Her total prep time is a mind-numbing 75 hours.
The number of minutes it takes for me to darn and to sew ribbons, elastic, and to stitch down the middle is probably about like 30 minutes. Most of my time I'm sewing. I have calluses on my fingers from sewing so much.
Shoe selection for a show is a carefully tailored, managed process designed to maximize performance. Given variation in shoes, dancers consider various candidates in rehearsal, searching for an optimal fitting good shoe. Once selected, much of the planning relates to gauging the hardness of the shoes as the performance progresses, as the toe box inevitably softens over time. Because of the softening of the shoe during the performance, a dancer will often swap shoes at intermission. Christine describes her shoe management process for a show and how she selects shoes for notable segments such as the Rose Adagio and Sleeping Beauty.
So when I choose shoes for my performance, before darning or cutting and sewing down the middle, I try them on stage because for some reason the floor on stage always feels different than in the studio. So I try them on stage, and whichever ones feel the more like the best ones I can balance in and the least wobbly ones, those are the ones I choose. And then I do my darning, I do the sewing down the middle, and usually for performances, I'll probably break in the brand new pair of shoes that day. So that morning in class, I will break in the new shoes and I'll get them ready. And then after class, I'll just like maybe darn a little bit more to kind of perfect it. And those will be the shoes for my show that evening. So I break them in that day. For performances, for each act, I switch shoes. So after each act, I have to swap because after one act, they're dead. And even if I do need shoes even if I do need like dead or soft shoes for the second act, I still have a different pair of dead soft shoes because what happens is shoes twist a lot during the show. Sometimes like they'll wear off too much where the big toe is, and then you won't really have time to fix it during intermission. So I always have 2 to 3 pairs prepped for each performance, just in case. So Rose Adagio is all about balancing. So you'll want, I know, well, at least for me, I'll want a pretty hard shoe because they're going to die. Rose Adagio is pretty much all on the right foot, and that shoe's going to die really fast. So I'll definitely want a harder shoe for Act 1 Sleeping Beauty. So it'll probably be like a new shoe I broke in that morning. I also think it depends on the brand. Like for block, it has to be, blocks die really fast. So it has to be kind of a harder shoe to start with because they'll be dead in a second. Whereas like Gainer Mindens or Capizios or other shoes take longer to break in. So you might want those to be soft.
Traditional pointe shoes do not last long. The average duration of a shoe is just 2 days, and dancers go through many shoes in a year. For example, ABT's Devin Tusher goes through close to 200 pairs in a year. In a 2019 donor appeal, ABT said it allocated $500,000 a year on pointe shoes. If ABT bought the shoes for $90 per pair, ballet companies pay less than retail cost. It would amount to about 5,500 pairs of shoes a year among about 50 female dancers. That's about 110 shoes per dancer every year. In 2019, total expenses were $49 million, so pointe shoes comprised about 1% of expenses. When executed well, pointe work in classical roles such as Mirtha in Giselle or Kitri in Don Quixote is enchanting and appears effortless. However, angelic as it looks, dancing on pointe is physically demanding and at times uncomfortable or painful, particularly when the dancer is on her toes for extended periods in a busy season with hours of rehearsals. Given the rigors of a demanding season, Christine develops pain management strategies to mitigate discomfort by adding cushion in her shoes, foot baths in ice and Epsom salts, and periodic breaks from wearing pointe shoes.
I always wear like a spacer in between the big and the second toe. And sometimes it depends, but sometimes I'll wear like really thin spacers between the pinky and the fourth toe. The big spacers, so my bunion doesn't get bigger. It kind of keeps it even. And then usually in pointe shoes, at least for me, I always get horns. So they're like blisters in between your toes that are excruciatingly painful. So if you don't put spacers in and kind of keep, make sure you don't get them, it could be really bad. But what I always do is I always do Epsom salt baths, which kind of help with blisters. They kind of soften the skin. So especially for corns, you want to kind of soften the skin for corns so that they don't harden and it gets really painful. And then I'll always, if it's a long day and my feet feel inflamed or burny, I always ice them. So ice baths are the best thing. There are times when we have very long days filled with lots of rehearsals and this. And there are times where my feet just are really swollen, or I'll have blisters and it hurts too much to even put pointe shoes on. So I'll wear flat shoes that day. So I do give myself, if my feet really, really hurt, I'll give myself a day or two without pointe shoes and just wear flat shoes.
For professional dancers, the search for the optimal pointe shoe is a never-ending, time-consuming process, encompassing brand selection, customization, and breaking in. Christine's experience is probably typical for elite dancers in these dimensions. She changed brands 3 times, starting as a student before settling on Block when she was a soloist at ABT. Her 20 or so changes in her Block shoes indicates the back and forth between the dancer and shoe company. Finally, the breaking in process. Given the many shoes a professional dancer goes through, the process amounts to a substantial time commitment, dozens of hours a year. Shoe search and preparation is an all-encompassing, time-consuming process. I do not know of another art form, sport, or activity in which the participant spends as much time and effort on their equipment in pursuit of the perfect instrument. Tennis is another example where the players spend much time on their equipment, although probably much less than dancers. Like Christine's Block European Balance pointe shoes, rackets used by many professionals vary greatly from what you can buy at a retail store. Tennis pros customize their rackets by adding more weight or by adjusting the balance of their racket so that they can hit the ball with more power and control. The efforts of dancers to find and prepare shoes underscores the dedication needed to achieve the top level in classical ballet. Always looking for an edge, dancers seek shoes and adjustments that enhance performance and foot health. What experience do you have with pointe shoes on brands and preparation? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for tuning in.